63-year-old Blake Edwards fought back by writing and directing a deeply personal film, That's Life. The movie starred Blake's close friend Jack Lemmon as an aging architect facing his own mortality. Julie Andrews, who had been Blake's source of strength throughout his battle with chronic fatigue syndrome, portrayed Lemmon's wife.
Blake was deeply in love with Julie, very much counting on her. That's Life was kind of a praise for Julie and her strength.
Harvey! Harvey! What are you doing, darling?
What?
What are you doing?
What?
Are you all right?
You all right?
What is it, sweet?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. I'm working out the kinks.
Oh, honey, honey.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know.
That's Life was shot in the Edwards' own home in Southern California and featured some of their children.
That's truly the definitive autobiographical film because it involved Blake's family, portraying Blake's family. Jack Lemmon stood in for Blake.
I watched him talking to Lemmon and saying, no, do it like this or say it like this. And it was as if the past was coming up right in my face again because Blake was telling Lemmon to be Blake.
Blake was ultimately able to pull out of his depression with the support of his friends and family, his immersion in work, and his longtime commitment to psychotherapy.
It was our kind of family religion. We didn't go to church, we went to group therapy. It helped him through those times, if you can talk about it. You know, it's not that bad.
The re-energized Edwards was ready to take on the world again, and with new focus, the respected filmmaker would be inspired to tackle an uncharted and surprising territory. In the late 1980s, Blake Edwards was enjoying the fruits of his renaissance as a preeminent writer-director. Along with his work in Hollywood, Blake concentrated on his love of painting, sculpting, and his favorite charities. In 1989, he and Julie Andrews were honored by WAIF, an organization that finds permanent residences for homeless children. While Edwards' films of the late 80s and early 90s were not big moneymakers, he remained undeterred. In the early 1990s, stage versions of hit films were finding success on Broadway. Inspired by the trend, Edwards took a daring turn and began work on a stage adaptation of his 1982 hit, Victor Victoria. Julie Andrews was to reprise her lead role in the play, which would mark her return to Broadway after an absence of more than 3 decades. For 72-year-old Blake, mounting the show was a huge financial risk and a daunting physical undertaking.
That was a real challenge, coming in with Victor Victoria and proving that even though he had never directed a Broadway show before, he sort of fearlessly waded in anyway.
But Edwards had to overcome considerable obstacles in trying to get the musical off the ground. Early in the production process, his friend and longtime collaborator, Henry Mancini, succumbed to cancer. Blake was devastated by the loss.
He didn't do a movie or a musical without Henry. And Henry didn't do a lot of stuff without my dad.
Edwards also had to cope with the fact that a major investor withdrew support for Victor Victoria prior to the play's debut. Blake found new backers and pushed himself and the project through to completion. When Victor Victoria opened at Broadway's Marquis Theater on October 25, 1995, it was sold out for months in advance. But Blake, ever the perfectionist, never stopped trying to improve the production.
He would come in months after we were open and say, I want you to try something for me, you know. And mine just kept going and going and going.
Although Victor Victoria received mixed reviews, it was a box office smash and revitalized both Blake and Julie's careers. But during the run of the show, Julie suffered chronic throat problems. When her scheduled commitment to the production ended, her role was filled by Liza Minnelli, then later by Raquel Welch. But without Andrews, ticket sales dropped, and the play closed soon after. In the meantime, Andrews had surgery to remove a polyp from her vocal cords. Following the procedure, her voice was impaired, and it was feared she would never sing again. As Blake helped his wife deal with the crisis, he and Julie were haunted by false rumors that the situation was causing the breakup of their marriage.
They're both survivors and fighters. Their relationship provides something that either very early on will send both people in separate ways or binds them together for the long haul.
Blake and Julie's relationship grew even stronger through the difficult period, and in 2001, the couple celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary. The following year, Blake received the Screen Laurel Award from the Writers Guild of America. The tribute acknowledged his unique contribution to the art of screenwriting.
Sometime around mid-career, I was asked if there was one award that I coveted the most. I replied that I didn't covet awards, but I was lying in my teeth, partly to keep my hard-earned insurgent reputation intact, but mainly because I never thought I'd get it. There was one award that I secretly coveted above all others, and I'm getting it tonight. Thank you.
And 3 years later, in 2004, Edwards received perhaps the ultimate Hollywood accolade when comedian Jim Carrey presented Blake with the Academy Award in honor of his outstanding contribution to the motion picture industry. The 81-year-old filmmaker, who had spent his early life looking for acceptance, now enjoyed the respect of his peers and the love of his wife, his 5 children, and 5 grandchildren. In a career that has spanned more than 6 decades, Blake Edwards' keen sense of wit, style, and sophistication is unparalleled. He was once known as Hollywood's bad boy, but now, as the creator of some of the world's best-loved films, Edwards is recognized as one of the industry's most esteemed filmmakers.
How do I look? He is an artist. He's a great writer. He has stories he wants to tell. He has just an incredible impish sense of humor.
Even though he examines the past, he doesn't dwell in it. It's about the now. It's about constantly learning and improving.
There's a childlike part of Blake that is still looking for the wonder, still looking for the magic, still looking for the answer, still looking for the key.
He is a darling. That's all I can say. Absolute darling.